What's up, everyone? We are setting up for a giant day in the stock market tomorrow. So we have some giant events on the schedule. We have some big earnings just waiting for us. And we have some great setups in play. In this video, we're going to go over everything you need to know heading into this week because it is definitely going to be a crazy one. We're also going to go over some great setups. And at the end of today's video, we have a $1.5 million trade that you won't want to miss. With that being said, Tom, let's talk about what happened in the stock market today, as there was a lot of decent movement, especially towards the end of the day, and we had some decent sized earnings released too.
Yeah, we definitely did. So we will get into those earnings in 1 second on Snapchat and AMD. But what I will say, Mike, is we were actually talking a lot the past couple of days about this key $400 support. And what did we see the SPY do this morning in pre-market? It gapped down below 400 very, very slightly. I remember yesterday, Mike, we said give or take about, a dollar or 50 cents. And then we started rocketing right back up. And pretty much, it opened, it was pretty flat. But then we started breaking out above 402, which was a pretty big resistance that we also talked about. So there was actually a lot of opportunity to the upside today. And I know it doesn't necessarily seem like it because a lot of stocks, started gapping down to start the day. But Mike, I mean, it was explosive. We saw AI up 21%. Spotify was up 12%. Teladoc was blasting, and a lot of these growth stocks were blasting up. Even Shopify was still going. I know we've been talking about that one a lot. Tesla was back in the green again. So overall, a very nice day. But Mike, we actually have a huge event for tomorrow, which is going to be the FOMC interest rate decision. And I will say the craziest thing from yesterday is I could not believe the percentage here on the FedWatch tool. 99.6% chance now towards 25 basis points. It does look like, Mike, now it went back towards 50 basis points. Remember yesterday and even earlier today, it was actually at a 1% chance for 0 basis point high.
Exactly. So like literally a couple hours ago, the market was actually pricing in like a very, very small chance of there actually being no rate hike tomorrow. But as of the way it seems right now, most likely we're going to see a 25 basis point rate hike, which is a lot smaller than some of the bigger rate hikes that we saw over the past year that went as high as 75 basis points increase. So nonetheless, we are set to see interest rates rise yet again tomorrow. The main thing you need to know is that at 2 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, that is when the interest rate is set to actually rise. And then at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, that's when the man, the myth, the legend, Jerome Powell actually has his press conference and answers everyone's questions and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's always awesome whenever Powell speaks. He has so much influence. Sometimes the interest rate decision will make the market go one way, then Powell will speak and kind of influence it the other, depending on what he says. So watch his tone. I know a lot of people are looking for him to be hawkish. It just depends on which analyst you look at. Obviously, there's all types of opinions out there, but I kind of feel like, Mike, that, the Feds are going to come in with 25 basis points. And I know a lot of people think that the Fed should keep it at 50 basis points or even higher than that. So guys, let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think the Feds are like loosening their policy too early, or do you think that it's actually a good thing that they're dropping down to 25? Because whenever you see inflation, it's obviously been falling down, Mike, but it hasn't been falling down quite enough. I would say, we're still at 6.5%. The Feds have a goal down there all the way at 2%. So I don't know what to say. I think that it's still way too high, and I just kind of feel like that the market might react negatively because it's just going down too quick.
Yeah, we will definitely see. What's very interesting to keep in mind is that, most likely, like we were just talking about, we're going to see a 25 basis point rate hike. But let's say something crazy happens, and let's say there's a 50 basis point rate hike or a 75 basis point rate hike. That would be brutal for the market. But what's also really important to keep in mind is, like, let's say we have a 25 basis point rate hike tomorrow. Everyone's going to be expecting that. And that itself shouldn't surprise the markets too much. But if we do see that 25 basis point rate hike, you should really be looking at what Powell says and how he says it. Because, there could be a 25 basis point rate hike, but if Powell's like, you know what, from the data we have, it looks like inflation isn't going to slow down anytime soon. That can be brutal for the market. So I think going into tomorrow, the most important thing related to this FOMC event is listening to what Powell says in the tone he says it in, because I think that'll really dictate where the markets move.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to see a lot of movement throughout the yields. We're going to see gold probably take a lot of price action tomorrow as well. Even like oil stocks might move. And obviously, we're going to see a lot of tech stocks and the overall indexes move like SPY and Dow and the NASDAQ, of course. So it's going to be a very, very volatile day. And I'm really hoping that some of these yields, like the 2-year yield, for example, can continue to fall down. I will say it started kind of falling down today again as the market popped up, and I'm really hoping to see these yields continue to fall because as we know, the yields have been extremely high as well, which has been, in my opinion, been a bad thing for the market, just another bad thing pushing it lower. And I know, Mike, the yields have such a big influence overall, and so does gold even. I mean, I know gold prices is one of the biggest things for the world's economy, for the overall market. That's kind of why it trades 24/7 with futures and stuff like that. But can't wait for what Big Daddy has to say. He's going to change everything.
You know it. So guys, if you're looking to really capitalize off tomorrow, make sure you're in the Stocked Up Discord chat. It's completely free, and it's going to be that first link in the description and the comments down below. Not only will we analyze the event as it's happening as a group, but we'll also have live stream links all over the place in the chat tomorrow. Tom's gonna be going live, so it'll be a great day. So definitely make sure to join up to fully capitalize off of the unique situation that the market is in. But Tom, talking a little bit more about the market today, an interesting movement from today, we saw AMD report earnings, and it's been going pretty well so far.
Yeah, it really has. This has been one of my favorites here, Mike. I've been loving AMD. They hit it out of the park today. Look at this. Pete Alonso with the AMD home run there. Let's go. These earnings, Mike, were actually fantastic. Whenever I'm looking at them overall, I've been watching all these reports come out here on the street. There hasn't been too many huge articles out yet, and keep in mind that they are still going to have a conference call, so I can't wait to hear all of the nitty-gritty stuff still to come. But so far, the earnings seem pretty good. So it looks like they ended up beating on revenue, came out at $5.599 billion, beating a $5.51 billion consensus. Also, the EPS came in at 0.69, Elon's favorite number, beating 0.67 here. So I'm really going to look for AMD to continue up, Mike, at least for tomorrow and maybe the next couple days. Maybe it'll have a nice earnings continuation. I will say, though, there were some things mixed in here that were a little bit worrying to me. Their gaming revenue was actually down 7% year over year, but their data center revenue actually saw some pretty crazy growth. So I will say, Mike, it was a very mixed report, but I will say the market liked it, and I'm really hoping AMD can continue up to around $80 and possibly even push higher than that.
Yeah, from my analysis, it looks like they just beat revenue and earnings expectations, which is good to see. But like you said, the stock market, or AMD stock, we should say, has been reacting to this report in a pretty good way so far. One thing I want to caution on, though, is Tom, the prime example was just the other week with Microsoft earnings. We had the stock blast up right after the report, and then as the conference call, progressed, the stock pulled a completely reverse card on us, and it completely reversed, and by morning the stock was tanking. So with these reports, you got to be prepared for that volatility.
Yeah, you definitely do. That was a very tough reverse there, and that was one of the better tech stocks in the market. I remember it was initially driving everything up, and talking about that, man, AMD is starting to dip back down a little bit now. So I'm hoping it holds up. Their data center revenue was up quite a bit year over year, so I'm really going to hope that can hold strong. I know that gaming center or the gaming revenue was down a little bit, but hey, at least they beat analyst expectations, and it seems like overall they're doing pretty good. And I actually was checking out Nvidia and after hours, and this is kind of pushing them to the downside a little bit. Same thing with Intel. I know that sometimes they inverse each other.
I really like how you compared AMD and like their sympathy move with other stocks in their industry from their earnings report, and that just makes me have to talk about Snapchat. So they actually reported earnings today, and their stock has not been looking too good in after hours. Looking a little bit deeper into the earnings report, the revenue definitely fell short of expectations, and they didn't even provide guidance for the future, which is never a good sign.
Yeah, that's crazy. I cannot believe that they actually declined to provide guidance. And, it looks like that going forward, they might do this again. I know some companies have been doing this. It definitely makes me think that, that they're not doing very well. And what I will say, Mike, is their shares have been falling quite a bit. Could you imagine if they put the guidance out? I mean, they must know that, this is going to be bad and it's going to look bad anyways. So I'm going to really watch this. They're falling down to around a big support right around like 940. If I see them fall below that, I'll watch $9 and then eventually 8 under that. There are some pretty big levels, but like I said, the big one coming up here is going to be right around 940 to 950. I think that's a pretty big area, so hopefully Snap can hold. But for now, that is a brutal drop down in after hours. Definitely a stark contrast to AMD, which so far has been holding up, although look at this, it's coming right back on us.
Yeah, so very interesting. What I was talking about with Snapchat, though, is as Snapchat tanked down in after hours, that also put a lot of selling pressure on stocks like Pinterest, PINS, and then even Google, as they both have a lot of exposure to the digital ad side of things. So either way, it's definitely adding some selling pressure across some other tech stocks.
Yeah, it is. And talking about Google, Mike, they're actually going to be having earnings in just a few days as well on Thursday and after hours. So this is definitely going to influence them. Hopefully they can report better revenue and hopefully they provide a guidance. I'm sure Google will, being such a big company like they are. But tomorrow we have Meta and after hours, Mike, Peloton before the market opens, along with T-Mobile, Waste Management, Altria. So definitely a lot of stuff still on the radar. Tomorrow we'll go a lot more in depth into Amazon, Apple, and Google, of course, which will be on Thursday. But man, that FOMC event is going to override probably just about everything tomorrow.
You know it. So with that being said, I want to talk about some solid setups that I have my eye on. One of the top ones is actually Tilray, TLRY. This is a marijuana company for anyone who doesn't know. These marijuana stocks go crazy every now and then, but in the meantime, they just do whatever they want. What was interesting about Tilray is that, especially intraday, they've been showing some pretty good price action, especially closer to the end of the day. Like I said, these stocks go crazy every now and then, and most of the time that movement is driven off of like hype or any sort of news event or catalyst. There's no crazy catalyst right now, but when these stocks do run, they tend to move in a very explosive way. So over the next couple days and the next couple weeks, I definitely have Tilray on my watch list to the upside. It can definitely use a lot of hype that would help it out a ton. And let's say the FOMC event goes great tomorrow, that can also help boost it up. If Tilray starts moving a solid way over the next couple days, I do think it can get close to that $3.80 level. And if it has even extra momentum, it can get closer to that $4 resistance.
That would be huge if they could break out up there. I mean, look at this big resistance here, really close to like 330. I feel like if they start to break that, we could definitely potentially get up to around like 380, like you mentioned. So I'll keep it on the radar, Mike. Definitely one of my favorite stocks here. But what I will say is, just keep in mind, guys, that a lot of these plays, at least that I'm going to be talking about, are going to be influenced a lot by Powell tomorrow. So I'm going to be watching Shopify at this $50 resistance. Looking at the $50 resistance here, it's definitely pretty big. Over the past couple days, we've gotten pretty close to it, bounced off a couple times. If we do end up breaking this, I will watch it for a nice day trade to the upside. But like I said, just be careful later in the day with Powell. Whenever he speaks, that might be when the breakout actually happens. And, it might not be a bad idea to play it if you see the overall market flying up. But we always just have to be very careful because that volatility is going to get crazy.
Sounds good. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is TLT, and this one always moves big time when it comes to FOMC events. Basically, what this follows is longer dated US Treasuries. The higher TLT goes, that means the lower Treasury yields are. and then the lower TLT goes, that means the higher treasury yields are. So given that Jerome Powell is set to have a giant event tomorrow, that should bring in some extra volatility for the treasury slash bond market overall. So while I don't have a specific direction for this one for tomorrow and throughout the rest of the week, I think it can be kind of like a good continuation play where let's say we see like a giant move up or a giant move down, you can just ride that momentum throughout the rest of the week.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually threw the yield up here so you guys can kind of see the stark contrast and how they inverse each other there. Definitely a nice one, Mike. And I know that TLT is going to definitely have some movement tomorrow with Powell speaking. So it definitely seems like right now, though, it's kind of between that range. Remember, there was a big money play a long time ago. They had like a debit spread between like 104 or like 113 and 103, I think it was. Very interesting. It's still kind of in that same range that they were looking at. My second play is actually going to be Walmart. And I saw that they popped up. Again, there's a big overhead resistance, but towards the end of the day, especially around close, they started getting very, very high. So if we start to break above 144, I'm going to watch for a nice push up to around like 144.40, 144.50, and then maybe a little bit higher. I will say Walmart's a bit of a slower mover, but I know that sometimes those options can have some pretty nice plays.
Sounds great. And there's actually another one that I'm watching pretty closely, and that is ticker symbol AI. This is an artificial intelligence company that has been blasting to the upside with more power than almost any other stock over the past couple of weeks. Of course, there's been a ton of hype because of ChatGPT lately, and that's awesome to see. And basically what happened is ticker symbol AI or C3 AI announced a new artificial intelligence product suite that can also integrate with ChatGPT and other AI products. So that brought a ton of hype into this stock. And while I do think it blasted up way too much over the past like week and a half or so, I wouldn't swing this one. But intraday, I think there can be a ton of opportunity for just day trades to the upside and the downside, mainly because of how volatile this stock is right now. Like when it moves, it really, really moves, especially intraday. So I do think because of that volatility and because of that good movement, there's opportunity associated with it.
Yeah, some of these moves have been insane, Mike. Like 21% today. Like, come on, let's go AI. Hopefully it can keep going. I know there's a lot of hype around these AI companies right now. And like you said, they just came out with that new product where they can integrate it with a lot of other systems slash chat GTP, like you said, and just a whole bunch of systems in general. So awesome stuff. And yeah, that is actually very explosive here. I'm going to definitely keep it on the radar.
All right, there we go. Let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have PLUG to the upside.
Good old plug. I will say, look at that daily chart. Looks even pretty explosive on there. If they can break around that high of day, it's 1710. I'll watch for some calls.
All right, with the next one, we have Spotify or SPOT to the upside.
Yeah, this one was awesome today as well, up 12%. So go ahead and make them break out above 113. Yeah, we'll maybe say like 113.22. Give or take a couple with this one. It's been pretty volatile.
All right, and now with the last one, we have Apple, but we need both directions on this one.
AAPL, yeah, fairly slow day for them, I'd say. Go ahead and make them break out above 144.50 to the upside if they end up moving up. And if they do end up falling down, watch for them to fall below 143. I think that this is actually a pretty good like 1 point range from intraday today that I feel like we could play a pretty good move off of for tomorrow.
Sounds great. So we have that downside level on Apple for a day trade to the downside tomorrow, only if it breaks below the level Tom listed. We also have that upside level for potential day trade to the upside, only if it breaks above the upward level. And the same can be said for Spotify and Plug with those upwards levels. But it is now time for my favorite part of the video, and that is the big money play of the day. We had $1.5 million go into the tech 40 strike call options for March 17th of 2023. Ticker symbol TECK. This is a mining company that has been exploding over the past couple weeks and months. It's been awesome to see this price action with this stock. What's very interesting with this one is that this call option play is relatively deep in the money and it has some time. So it looks like a really bullish play for my traders out there who don't trade options. The main thing you need to know is that we have someone betting around $1.5 million that this stock is going to rise going forward. Now, this option does expire on March 17th, so it does have a little bit of time. And, don't be surprised, let's say, if it's red tomorrow. But over the next couple weeks and months, it looks like the big money is pretty bullish on this one.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy, Mike. I mean, this is a very explosive uptrend here over the past couple months, and it has just been honestly ripping up ever since it looks like that low all the way down there in August or July of 2022. So I'm definitely going to keep it on the radar. I will say, though, it's getting up close to some pretty big resistances, but with it being in the money like it is and with it having a, short expiration, well, fairly short, compared to a lot of the ones that we see, I would definitely say that it looks like they're longing it. So yeah, I'm going to keep it on the radar. And I know that these mining companies can sometimes explode up in some big ways. We've seen some crazy stuff this year between some stocks that deal with energy, whether it's CCJ or ExxonMobil or what, any of these things that deal with any type of commodities generally can go crazy.
Absolutely. So keep a close eye on TECK. What's also interesting with this one is that it is double topping, Tom. We could see it had that high in June. Would you mind giving us some levels on it?
Yeah, so in June, it did have a double top. And what I will say is there was like a lot of hits, all throughout like March, April, May, pretty much like all around like $43. And I'm going to go ahead and post that down here. And what's interesting is that we actually got some price action on that very, very recently here. As we can see, I just circled it right there. But as we're starting to move up through that resistance, I think the next major level that we need to watch for coming up is going to be 44. After that, though, 45 is just going to, I think, be the big area where there's probably going to be the most orders in there. So I'm going to really watch 45. I really like that recent break, though, of 43. And I love how it's pushing up. I will say, though, it's kind of a slower mover. So like today, it had a very explosive move and it ended up, moving up 4.74%. But, like whenever you look at the stock, it only moved up like a dollar, $1.50. So, it doesn't move too much, but I like the price action nonetheless.
No doubt. Also, make sure to keep a pretty close eye on that $46 resistance level. It did hit that in 2022, and I think if it breaks through that with some solid momentum, we could see a nice run. So keep it close on your radar. I like the play overall, but of course, be mindful of overall market conditions. For example, if let's say the whole stock market crashes tomorrow off of this FOMC event, you can say you probably don't want to be buying new call option plays. So obviously keep overall market sentiment in mind.
Yeah, definitely. You always got to be careful out there, especially with Powell, guys. And, I just want to reiterate, guys, he's going to be speaking at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. That interest rate decision is going to come out at 2. So be ready tomorrow. It's going to be one of the craziest days in the stock market in the past couple months, I think. And, hey, we're getting our first press conference of the new year, so let's hope it goes well.
There we go. Also, I want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Mighty Fangs, in the Stocked Up Discord chat. You're very new to the chat, but your activity has been awesome so far, so make sure to keep it up. Besides that, Tom and I are super excited for tomorrow. There should be a lot of volatility and great moves in both directions. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Make sure to join the Stocked Up Discord chat. It is completely free, and it's the place to be for events like these. So make sure to join up. Tom will be going live tomorrow. You can join by just, joining the Discord. We'll have links posted everywhere. Besides that, let's have an amazing rest of the week.